What's up, guys? Did everybody see the Neuralink event today? I was really inspired by it. There's so much promise in it and so much potential, and it's actually done a lot of good already. I don't know if you saw, but they were able to connect little sensors, little attachments to the brains of some people that have had some debilitating diseases. They've lost muscle, they've lost ability to control things. For example, one gentleman's able to control a mouse where he pretty much has no control except for with his eyes heretofore, and that's giving him a lot of capabilities. There are promises in Neuralink that include things like restoring sight to the blind or even helping someone that might be paralyzed. It was the paralysis description that reminded me so much of a song by They Might Be Giants called My Man. So we're going to get into that song first, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Neuralink.
My man, muscles from hand to foot, completely coated in uninterrupted skin.
All right, so this is probably obvious to most of you, but when he says my man, he's not talking about someone else. He's talking about his body. And as you're going to hear in this song, as you're going to learn through the lyrics, he's talking about the difference, kind of the body-mind separation. And for him, it's a more severe separation. But let's keep going.
My man signals command the leg to follow orders coming down from headquarters. Why then am I in bed? I guess my man's falling out with my head.
Okay, so this has got to be frustrating. For anyone that's paralyzed, I send my greatest sympathies. John in this song is imagining himself as paralyzed, and he's saying, why am I in bed? I'm sending a signal from headquarters. I'm sending a signal from my brain to the rest of my body, and yet, why am I in bed? So he's frustrated by that, as I think we would all be.
May I direct your attention to the following simile? You're like the coasts of an ocean. Buried beneath is a submarine cable connecting the opposite shores that surround it.
Okay, so he's talking about a submarine cable. This is an interesting analogy. There was actually a project as early as 1865. It was called the Transatlantic Telegraph Cable. And they would take ships and they would actually just lay cable all the way from England to North America. And the first attempt at this was not successful. I won't get into it too much in this video, but this is another example of how They Might Be Giants open you up to these other ideas, and they kind of get your mind off into different tangents. Let's keep going.
My man, how can he stand? Your fingers could encircle clear around the ankle. My man won't walk again in conflict with express instructions given by the brain. Why can't the message be sent? I guess my man's falling out with my head.
Okay, so a couple of concepts here that he introduces. He says that his man is fallen out with his head. You know, we sometimes talk about having a falling out with someone. It means that we're no longer talking. We're no longer on good terms. And he's frustrated. You know, he's saying that his man is fallen out with his head. I also thought it was kind of sad, that part where he says his fingers could go clear around the ankle. So in other words, he has so much muscle atrophy that he's able to get his fingers all the way around his ankle because he's just pure skin and bones at this point. Let's keep going.
When something happens to drag on the floor of the ocean, for instance, an anchor or moving, the cable can be disrupted and even be severed, which halts the transmission across it.
Okay, before we talk about those lyrics, are you hearing what I'm hearing? John's singing in octaves. He's singing up high, and then he's also singing down low. For some of you that are children of the 80s like me, this sounds a lot like the band Squeeze. So many of the Squeeze songs has these octaves where it's the same singer, but he's singing high and he's singing an octave lower. And I think that's really interesting. But back to the lyrics. That's why you're here for this channel. He's talking about how did his spinal cord get injured? How did that happen? And instead of telling you about his injury, you know, he fell from a horse like Christopher Reeve, or, you know, some other injury like a car accident, he's sticking with this analogy, and he's saying, imagine a transatlantic submarine cable, and then dragging across that cable is an anchor or a mooring. some ship that's maybe just trying to get stability, and it snags that cable and it cuts the transmission between the two continents. And this actually happened in history. And you can read about the heroic efforts as they try to use grappling hooks to fish out the cable, bring it back to the surface, somehow wind it back up, make a repair. I mean, we're talking about 1.5 miles down underwater. And so this was not an easy feat in the 1800s.
There is no way to repair the break.
So that's probably the most tragic part of this song, is when he says there's no way to repair the break. And as of this recording, that still is true. But according to the video that we watched yesterday, that may not be the case in the future. Let's listen to Elon Musk as he describes how this repair might be possible in the future.
So that it goes far beyond just operating a robot hand, but replacing limbs and having kind of a whole body robot experience. And then I think another thing that will be possible, I think is very likely in the future, is to be able to bridge the where the damaged neurons are. So you can take the signal from the brain and transmit that signal past where the neurons are damaged or strained to the rest of the body. So you could reanimate the body, so that if you have a Neuralink implant in the brain and then one in the spinal cord, then you can actually bridge the signals, and you could walk again and have full body functionality. Obviously, that's what people would prefer. To be clear, we realize that would be the preferred outcome, and so that even if you have a broken neck, or you could still, we believe, I'm actually at this point I'd say fairly confident that at some point in the future we'll be able to restore full body functionality.
I hope they're successful at Neuralink. Whatever you may feel about Elon Musk and his political views, this company that he has founded, I have got high hopes for this company. There's so many wonderful things it can do for people. Well, thank you for watching. I am the Lord of Lyrics, host of the channel where lyrics reign supreme.
Signals command